Hello YouTube, this is ahjteam. So, this week's tutorial is how to use impulses, how to use ampsims, and how to use alternative methods for ampsims. This week's tutorial is a bit more in-depth and a bit complicated, so if you don't know what are impulses and so on, I will try to tell you. Okay, so what we will start with is that first we have to get in the guitar sound to the interface, and I am using a DI box, which is the radial J98, but it doesn't really matter because I'm not endorsed by radial. And as we can hear, I have a sound coming in. Alright, and I have the preamp gain at 0, and you want to make sure that whatever you play, it doesn't clip. As you see, it clips. So what I suggest that you do is that you turn on the pad, which is an attenuator. In the radial box, it's 15 dB. So as we can see, it's now hitting at approximately -12. So let's boost up the preamp gain just a bit so that we get it to around -10 on each peak. Okay, looks good. But I also use an max and overdrive pedal, which is basically a tube screamer, and it sounds like this. So that is what my tube screamer is doing, and it also reduces the level. So if you are doing just the DI and not pedals, remember to adjust the levels accordingly. So, because it's going a bit quieter than just clean DI, I'll just take the pad off and take off the preamp compensation. Okay, so now I'm getting this kind of levels. But it's not clipping, so it's kind of cool. Okay, so next what we will do is that we will insert line 6 pod farm, and the basic sound that it gives is this Roland kind of clean amp. I'll take off the tube screamer. Alright. But whatever sound you're going for, just use that, and I have made this preset called twangy metal, which is like so it basically has that twang from the AC30 and the distortion from the tread plate, and when it's combined, so basically the tread plate just gives it some meat, and I'm using the same cabinet, which is important because otherwise you will get phase problems. For example, if I change this to the normal that comes with it, sounds pretty terrible, right? So I'll just switch back to what it was and hear it now. So that is important when you're doing a dual tone, especially if you're doing distortion, that you use the same cabinet modeling, or you can do it the other way. You just turn off the cabinet modeling from both amps. So no cabinet, so now it gets this really awful distorted sound, which is kind of like the sound that actually 9 Inch Nails used back in the day when they were super famous in the 90s. But after that, you can use an impulse. And I am using the Waves IRL loader, but there are very many free ones except for Mac, so that's the reason why I'm using this. And I'm using the Catharsis Awesome Time Fredman impulses, and I'll use the S press high. And at least with this one, it sounds pretty terrible when it just loaded. So you need to put on the direct, and it sounds like supposed to be. But the problem is that when we turned it on, make inactive. So it's about like 5% of a few percent of our CPU, which is not cool. When basically all it does is, how do you say it? It's like a really short impulse. It's like 0.02 seconds. So it doesn't even have the time domain in it. So what I have figured out is that there is a Waves plugin called Q-Clone. I'll show you how it works. I have set up an aux track that loops into itself right here. So it comes in from the same bus and goes into the same bus. So you just select the Waves Q capture, and so that it's in the loop, and then it's receiving and transmitting itself to the same plugin. If it's routed into correctly, like this, it doesn't work. So you have to have it on coming through the same bus in and out. And this is actually meant for cloning real EQs like hardware EQs. But I have found this to be a really cool analyzing tool also. So if I take the pod farm, for example, and take off all these and select the screamer, which is the tube screamer modeler they have, and then I put the Q clone here. Where is it? Waves Q clone. All right. So now the pod farm, because it's after or before the Q capture, it doesn't really matter. It's in the loop. So now when I'm using the Q clone plugin, I'll just press capture, and it captures the frequency response of this plugin. So when I change the tone, it changes the frequency response, which is kind of cool. So you can use this a lot to like analyze how different stuff work. For example, there is this really cool thing that I really liked. There is this American Classic, which is kind of API style preamp, and when you put it on the guitar bus at the end, it sounds really cool. So I just checked out what it does. So it's basically creating a bit of a bump in the low end and some distortion in the high end, which is really cool. So if you just slam that in, if you don't have the pod farm, it makes the same result. So what we'll try is that we'll just use the same IRL. Let's take the pod farm off. So now I have the IRL there. It's having the same, and the curve looks like this. So I'll just put it on hold, and I'll bypass the IRL. Do you note that it doesn't sound the same, because this only captures the frequency response, not the time response also. So so here was the IRL. And here is the Q clone. Sounds really similar, right? Then I was thinking, well, you know, it doesn't look so hard to like do this kind of curve. So what I did was that I put this on hold, then I turned on the setup B and put just a regular EQ. Let's use the one that comes with Pro Tools. So this is a 7-band EQ. Let's put it on capture mode. We see that it's doing nothing. So let's AB to the earlier setup. So we see that we have high pass filter around there. So I think it's maybe 90-ish. Let's try it there. No, it's steeper. Okay, around there. So then we have low end boost at what is it, 150-ish, something like this. A bit more. Yeah, looks kind of cool. So then on the high end we have a low pass at maybe 4K. Let's turn it on. Steeper. Okay, it's a bit more steeper, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so then we have this really wide scoop around here. So it's centered maybe about there. So it's 800 Hertz. So let's use this one. 800 Hertz around there. And super wide. Like this, maybe. More. Yeah, around there. So now we have to boost this high end just a bit, so around 2K. So we can do it as a, we have this one, okay. Around 2K. Let's boost it. Okay, now we have that. Then we have this dip here around 600-ish. You know, I'm just doing this by eyes, so I don't even know how it sounds yet. So let's try something like that. No, narrower. Yep, but just a bit. Maybe like this. More narrow. Okay, so it's maximum narrow. It seems that there is maybe a still bigger boost around 2K on the shell. Can we get, yeah, like that? Maybe not that much. And then add some at the okay, maybe 3 dB. Okay, so maybe it's now time to test it out. Put it on hold. A and B setup. Maybe a bit more low end when looking at it now. So capture. Okay, looks fairly similar to me. So let's open the guitar. Let's test how it sounds. So here is the Catharsis Impulse through Q-Clone. I'll just turn off my mic. And then the 7 bands of EQ. Okay, as we can hear, it's not the same, but it's not like totally awful either. So maybe let's take off this high-end boost. Capture. And let's re-listen. Okay, that's super close if you ask me. And considering it's only high pass, low pass, and 3 bands of EQ, and maybe if we actually take this one also off. No, works better with the low end boost. If we test out if we bypass these different bands, what does it do to the sound? So let's put on the capture. Okay, so that takes off the cardboard. And that 800 Hz just gives it that kind of scoop sound that the Mesa cabinet has. So basically, if you want, you could actually just do it with just this kind of curve. So you only have high pass, low pass, and mid scoop and low end boost. And it's not like totally awful. So it's way easier on the CPU, if you ask me. And it's most likely so that if you are doing just demos, it will suffice really easily. Okay, now everything is off, and let's do just the EQ that we used. So it was high pass, low pass, and low end boost at 150, and mid cut at around 800 Hz. So let's use the distortion. That's the distortion that comes with Pro Tools, the SansAmp PSA. I turned off the distortion pedal, so it's just the SansAmp and the EQ. So let's load a preset. Like this is the metal rhythm. It comes with. Let's try how it sounds. Actually, I made a preset earlier with the Waves REQ, so I'll just use that for the model. All right. So it's not totally awful either. So let me turn on the tube screamer. So if you want to do demo guitars or even production guitars, you could usually use this kind of tone. So if you want something like a bit more cleaner, like this. So works pretty well for that also. So maybe try out the Waves Q clone. It's really cool plugin, and I hope you found this tutorial interesting. And what else? Oh yeah, thank you for watching and make good music. Please subscribe to my channel if you like these videos. I try to make new videos every week. And my internship starts at Finwax next week. And I will be straight working at the B Studio. So if you have any questions about Finwax, I'll try to answer those to my best knowledge after the first week. And do note that I can't do interviews with Mikko Karmila, even though it would be really cool. I'll maybe do that on a later date.